Okay, I thought I'd share. So I let that stuff, actually, I just had other stuff that I had to get done yesterday. So the mud, this is the project that I'm working on the table. So the mud it dried overnight. It does not to have it dry, but I'm just using a hand sander, and this is 120. So you don't need anything, especially for this. These are just little tiny holes. So I don't need, I didn't have to glob it on or goop it on. So I'm just using a really fine. And literally, I'm just trying to get all of the excess mud off. I just want a smooth surface, and I wanted those holes to be filled. So I just want a flat surface that I can paint on. And usually I don't paint the insides of drawers or anything like that, but this, what I was saying, I don't know where it dropped off, but I usually don't paint the insides of drawers or anything. If they're fine, I just leave them. So I will not paint inside here. You could add fun paper, decorative paper. I've done that. I've Mod Podged like old book pages. There's a whole story about that I've shared before, but we won't get into that. But I will paint this, obviously, because I wanted to fill those holes, and then I will just paint the top of this. But yeah, so now what I'll get, because of course I'm to be doing this, is just a damp cloth. And I will wipe all of this off before I paint it. Make sure it's dry before I paint it. And then I will start, no, I will not start painting. There's another step, and I will share that with you when I get to it. What I was saying, I don't know where it dropped off, but I usually don't paint the insides of drawers or anything. If they're fine, I just leave them. So I will not paint inside here. You could add fun paper, decorative paper. I've done that. I've Mod Podged like old book pages. There's a whole story about that I've shared before, but we won't get into that. But I will paint this, obviously, because I wanted to fill those holes, and then I will just paint the top of this. But yeah, so now what I'll get, because of course I'm to be doing this, is just a damp cloth. And I will wipe all of this off before I paint it. Make sure it's dry before I paint it. And then I will start, no, I will not start painting. There's another step, and I will share that with you when I get to it. Okay, so first of all, when I'm painting tables like this that have legs like this, where I want to get under the legs and all that kind of stuff, I flip it upside down. And yes, another question I get asked a lot, do I paint the underside? For pieces like this, I do. So it's going to look like one whole painted piece, if that makes sense. So I will paint the underside as well. What I'm sharing now is actually a product I've been wanting to use since I can't work outside in the winter. I mean, I can't paint out there. Sanding is so cold. Washing it outside, it's not going to work. So I bought this, and right now this stuff, it's still half off. I couldn't believe it. And this thing is massive, and you need only a little bit. And I've liked it. And this is the second project I'll be working. Okay, I kind of have you guys on my tripod thing here. So anyway, so this is the second time. It cleans your pieces, and it takes the gloss off. Some of these pieces, a lot of pieces that kind of sheen for whatever they put on there. But so this is kind of a 2-for-1 and one and done. So I love that. I just put it on an old rag. Get gloves. I didn't grab them when I was in the garage. And literally, you just wipe it on like you're washing or cleaning the piece. But it does take off that sheen. And I will say, DIY projects, and I've learned this the hard way, you need to have a plan B, C, and D, because they're not going to always work out the way you plan. And so for the last piece, I did the Boss product from Dixie Belle Paint, which is kind of like a primer. Make sure that no red's going to come through or other colors. I thought I would have to do it, but I just started with this to see if the paint would stick. It would be fine, and it worked fine. With that being said, I may use this on this piece and find that, I've already kind of done this whole piece, and find that, I may find that I'll have to go and put Boss on it if the paint starts to show through. But with Dixie Belle Paint, that's why I love using their paint. You usually don't have to have a primer coat. It's just ready to go, and it covers well. So I'm just going to go for it. This is easy. If you didn't like it, or if it wasn't working, all you have to do is sand it off and start over. Or like if you put the paint color on, you didn't like the paint color, it's just paint. I did remove the little, where's the little line guy? I think he's on the other side. I did remove that before I'm gonna paint. So I always like to remove hardware and stuff before I paint. So that is off. And I'm going to try and do something with those, they're down here. I think I'm gonna try and do rub and buff on these and then on the lion head. And I picked a color that I haven't used in a while, but I think it's so, so pretty. I think the color's called Spanish Moss. So it's kind of a color, but I think the reason I chose that, I was gonna go with the Vintage Duck Egg, which is kind of like a robin's blue. But I thought the brass hardware would look really good with that Spanish Moss color. So that's what I'm gonna try. Again, if I don't like over it. And these are the kinds of projects and tips and stuff that we're sharing every month inside the Creative Squad group. And I have people coming in every month and sharing their tips. And okay, I don't know where that cut me off, but I am going to, let me show you the color. And you guys know my favorite paint brushes. I will be using the Palm Pro for this, but this is the color. I am loving these taupey green colors. I mean, anything green, right? This kind of has a green tint to it. So once this cleaner dries, then I will start painting. Okay, this was the right color. It's so pretty. There's a glare coming in, sorry, but I just wanted to share that a lot of people say, like they give up painting furniture or painting pieces because these are plastic tablecloths from the Dollar Tree. So I use those. They're just easy to then use a couple times and throw them away. But they get, I don't know if you guys can see here, one coat of paint. And it shows you, number one, this is gonna work with that, cleaning it with that stuff. But also Dixie Belle paint is amazing and it covers well. That's why I just love their paint. But it's not perfect here. If you can see, yeah, you guys can see that. Don't give up at this stage. It still needs another coat and it may need 3 coats. It's buildable. It's not something that you're gonna get. You're not just gonna paint it with 1 coat and it's gonna look perfect. It's not like that. But I also don't want you to think that you have to spend 14 days on these projects either. It's not that. So I just like to share these little tips with you guys because it's so doable and I want everybody to do it. You're not just gonna paint it with 1 coat and it's gonna look perfect. It's not like that. But I also don't want you to think that you have to spend 14 days on these projects either. It's not that. So I just like to share these little tips with you guys because it's so doable and I want everybody to do it. But I will definitely give this 1 more coat, if not 2. If I find any, like right there, that was like a little raised, I don't want to move it because it's wet, but some paint. I just rubbed it off. So now I can see the brown wood. I'm just going to paint over that. That's okay. It was just, there was a, if you have any drips or you have any like layers or it's not running smooth, just run, like a 120 to make it smooth again. And then just paint over it again. So it's a process. You learn a lot through doing it. Yeah, and you guys can kind of see up here the variation. It definitely... And definitely wait between coats. No, that's not right. Make sure it's dry between coats. Don't, like if I went on there right now with it being wet and tried to paint it, I'm just gonna pull that off. Make sure it's fully dry before you add the next layer on. Because otherwise you're just pulling paint off. I've tried to do that even like on walls in your house. I'm trying to rush it, right? Because usually I'm doing the trim. And so I'll go once and think, okay, that was enough. I'll start where I started. And you can know right away. You'll start pulling that paint right off. You got to wait and let it dry. So just let it dry. Just be patient. Go do something else and come back to it. But do not put on your second coat till the first one's fully. Okay, I just wanted to share this too. Paint colors look different as they dry. This looks a lot more yellow. This looks a lot more green. So again, don't give up. Do the entire process and then decide after everything's done what you want to do. But this looks like it's the same color, but just totally different. Here's another tip too. If you're painting, and I don't want to paint the inside of this, you get a drip like this of your paint, don't touch it until it dries. Because if you try to pick it up now, it's going to smear all over the place. Wait till it dries and then it away with a window scraper or a razor. You can always sand it as well. But